The massive Zephyrian warship floated above the burning planet like a dark storm cloud. Admiral Vextar stood on the command bridge, his scaled hands gripping the metal railing as he watched the final moments of another conquest. Below him, the world of Kepler 442b was surrendering. After 3 months of brutal siege, the planet had been home to the Altarians, a peaceful species known across the galaxy for their advanced technology and their skill in trade negotiations. They had built beautiful cities with gleaming towers that reached toward the stars, and their ships carried goods and knowledge to dozens of worlds. But the Altarians had never been warriors, and when the Zephyrian Empire came calling, they had no idea how to fight back. Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. His species had evolved on a world where only the strongest survived, where the weak were eaten and the smart learned to hunt in packs. The Zephyrians had carried that brutal wisdom into space, building an empire that stretched across 12 star systems. No species had ever been able to stand against their military might, and the Altarians had been no different. "Admiral, the surface commanders are reporting complete success," said his communications officer, a young Zephyrian named Crixel. "The remaining Altarian leaders have been captured. Their defensive fleet has been completely destroyed." Vextar nodded slowly. The battle had been easier than expected. The Altarians had tried to defend their world with merchant vessels hastily fitted with weapons, but they had no military tradition and no understanding of real warfare. Their ships had been beautiful and fast, but they crumbled like paper when faced with the heavy guns of the Zephyrian battle fleet. "What about their technology?" Vextar asked. "The High Command wants their communication systems and their star charts. The technical teams are downloading everything from their data centers now," Crixel replied. "The Altarians developed some interesting ideas about long-range communication, but nothing that poses a threat to the Empire." Vextar walked to the large viewing window that dominated the front of the bridge. The planet below was covered in smoke from the burning cities, and he could see the lights of Zephyrian landing craft moving back and forth like glowing insects. Soon, this world would be turned into another military base, another stepping stone for the Empire's expansion. The Zephyrian way of war was simple and effective. They would arrive at a star system with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and then crush any resistance with brutal efficiency. Most species gave up without a fight once they saw the size of the Zephyrian fleet. Those that tried to resist were quickly destroyed, their worlds occupied and their people enslaved. "Sir, we're receiving a priority message from the High Command," Crixel announced. "They're sending congratulations on another successful conquest. Fleet Admiral Zorthak says this brings our total to 37 defeated species." Vextar felt a surge of pride. 37 species had fallen before the might of the Zephyrian Empire in just 10 years. Some had been warriors, some had been traders, some had been scholars, but all of them had learned the same lesson. In the cold darkness of space only, strength mattered, and the Zephyrians were the strongest of all. "Tell the High Command that we'll be ready to move on to the next target within the week," Vextar said. "The star charts we captured show several more peaceful worlds in this sector. We should be able to add another 3 or 4 systems to the Empire before the year is out." What Vextar didn't know was that, during the final hours of the siege, a small group of Altarian survivors had managed to send out a desperate message. Hidden in the deep underground bunkers beneath their capital city, the last free Altarians had used their most advanced communication equipment to broadcast a plea for help across the galaxy. The message was simple but desperate. "We are under attack by a species called the Zephyrians. They have destroyed our fleet and occupied our world. Please help us. We have technology that might interest you. We have developed a quantum resonance amplifier that allows instant communication across any distance. If you can help us, we will share this technology with you." The message had been sent to every species the Altarians had ever made contact with, but most of those civilizations were too far away to help, and many were too weak to challenge the Zephyrian Empire. But the message had also been sent to a small, blue planet on the edge of the galaxy, where a young species called humans had just begun to explore the stars. The humans had only recently developed faster-than-light travel, and their first deep space exploration mission was already underway. A single human ship called the Discovery was making its way through the outer regions of the galaxy, mapping new star systems and searching for signs of alien life. When the Altarian message reached Earth, it caused great excitement among the human leaders. Here was proof that intelligent life existed in the galaxy and that some of that life was in trouble. The humans had no idea how powerful the Zephyrian Empire really was, or how many worlds had already fallen to their conquest. All they knew was that someone was asking for help, and they were offering to share advanced technology in return. Meanwhile, on the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Vexstar was planning his next move. The Zephyrian Empire had grown strong by taking what they wanted and crushing anyone who tried to stop them. They had evolved on a harsh world where mercy was weakness and strength was the only virtue that mattered. They had brought that philosophy to the stars, and it had served them well. "Crixel, send word to the fleet commanders," Vexstar ordered. "We'll leave a garrison here to secure the planet and prepare it for colonization. The rest of the fleet will move on to the next target. According to these star charts, there's a peaceful trading world called Vega Prime that should be easy to take." "Yes, Admiral," Crixel replied. "Shall I also send word to the High Command about our next target?" "Of course," Vexstar said. "Tell them that the Zephyrian Empire continues to grow stronger. Tell them that no species in the galaxy can stand against us." As the great warship prepared to leave the conquered world behind, Vexstar felt satisfied with another successful campaign. The Zephyrian Empire had proven once again that they were the masters of space and that any species that tried to resist them would be crushed. He had no way of knowing that somewhere in the darkness between the stars, a human exploration vessel was receiving the Altarian distress call and preparing to do something that no other species had ever attempted. The age of easy Zephyrian conquest was about to end, but Admiral Vexstar would not learn that lesson for several more days. Captain Lisa Murphy sat in her command chair aboard the exploration vessel Discovery, staring at the strange message that had appeared on her screen 3 days ago. The message had traveled across space using technology that human scientists barely understood, and it carried news that would change everything for the human race. The Discovery was humanity's first real attempt at deep space exploration. The ship was small compared to the massive vessels that other species might build, but it was packed with the best technology that Earth could provide. Lisa had been chosen to command this mission because she was one of the few humans who had experience with both military tactics and diplomatic negotiations. "Danny, bring up that message again," Lisa said to her navigator, Lieutenant Daniel Price. Danny was a young man from Texas who had joined the space program because he wanted to see what was out there beyond Earth's solar system. "Here it is." "Captain," Danny replied, pressing a few buttons on his control panel. "It's still hard to believe that we're actually receiving communications from aliens." The message appeared on the main screen in simple mathematical symbols that any intelligent species should be able to understand. But mixed in with the basic mathematics were complex technical diagrams that showed designs for technology far beyond anything humans had ever seen. Dr. Amanda Cole looked up from her science station, where she had been studying the alien message for the past 3 days. Amanda was a brilliant scientist who had spent her career studying the possibility of life on other worlds, but she had never expected to actually make contact with aliens during her lifetime. "Captain, I've been analyzing the technical specifications." "That came with the distress call," Amanda said. "These beings call themselves Altarians, and they've developed something called a quantum resonance amplifier. If I'm reading these diagrams correctly, it's a communication device that can send messages instantly across any distance." Lisa frowned as she thought about what this could mean. "How is that possible? Our fastest communications still take years to travel between star systems." "The theory is incredibly complex, but the basic idea is that they've found a way to link particles at the quantum level," Amanda explained. "When you change one particle, the linked particle changes instantly, no matter how far away it is. They've somehow scaled this up to work with large amounts of information. Lieutenant Commander Jake Hamilton spoke up from his position at the tactical station. Jake was a former military officer who had joined the exploration mission because he understood that humanity might encounter dangerous situations in deep space. "Captain, if this technology really works, it would revolutionize everything," Jake said. "We could have instant communication with Earth no matter where we go. Military commanders could coordinate fleets across the entire galaxy. Scientists could share discoveries in real time." Lisa nodded slowly. The implications were staggering. Humanity had always been limited by the speed of light when it came to communication over long distances. Messages sent from Earth to their current location would take months to arrive, and by the time they received a reply, the situation might have changed completely. "Danny, how long would it take us to reach the coordinates given in the message?" Lisa asked. "At maximum speed, we're looking at about 5 days," Danny replied. "But Captain, we don't know what we're going to find when we get there." This message was sent 3 days ago, and it sounded pretty desperate. Dr. Cole pulled up another section of the alien message on her screen. "There's something else, Captain. The message mentions that the Altarians are under attack by something called the Zephyrian Empire. According to what they've told us, this empire has already conquered dozens of worlds." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe, but they had never seriously considered the possibility that there might be hostile alien civilizations out there. The idea that an entire empire was going around conquering peaceful worlds was terrifying. "Jake, what do you think about our chances if we run into this Zephyrian Empire?" Lisa asked. Jake studied the tactical information that had been included with the message. "It's hard to say, Captain. We don't know much about their technology or their military capabilities, but the Discovery isn't a warship. We've got defensive shields and some basic weapons, but we were designed for exploration, not combat." Chief Engineer Matt Ryan looked up from his station at the back of the bridge. Matt was a practical man who had spent his career keeping complex machines running under difficult conditions. He understood better than anyone what the Discovery could and couldn't do. "Captain, I've been thinking about this situation," Matt said. "If these Altarians are really under attack, and if they're willing to share this communication technology with us, then we have to at least try to help them. This could be the most important discovery in human history." Lisa looked around at her crew. The Discovery carried 47 people, all of them volunteers who had signed up for a dangerous mission into the unknown. They were scientists, engineers, and explorers, not soldiers, but they were the only humans in this part of the galaxy. "Amanda, is there any way to send a message back to Earth about what we found?" Lisa asked. "Not with our current technology," Amanda replied. "Any message we send would take months to reach Earth, and by the time we got a reply, whatever is happening to the Altarians would be long over." Lisa made her decision. "Danny, set course for the coordinates in the message. Maximum speed." "Yes, Captain," Danny said, his fingers flying over his control panel. "Course laid in. We should arrive in the Kepler 442 system in 5 days." "Jake, I want you to start running simulations on our defensive systems," Lisa ordered. "We don't know what we're going to find when we get there, but we need to be prepared for anything." "Already on it, Captain," Jake replied. "I'll also start analyzing what little tactical information we have about this Zephyrian Empire." As the Discovery changed course and began accelerating toward the distant star system, Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. She was about to lead humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and that civilization was apparently in the middle of a war. The next few days passed quickly as the crew prepared for whatever they might find. Amanda continued studying the Altarian technology, trying to understand how their quantum communication system worked. Jake ran endless tactical simulations, trying to figure out how a single exploration vessel might be able to help in a war against an empire that had conquered dozens of worlds. Matt worked on modifying the Discovery systems, trying to squeeze every bit of performance out of the ship's engines and shields. Danny plotted and replotted their course, looking for the fastest and safest route to the Kepler 442 system. But despite all their preparations, none of them really understood what they were getting into. They were about to encounter an alien empire that had built its power on conquest and brutality, and they were going to have to find a way to help the Altarians with nothing but their wits and their determination. The Discovery raced through space toward its destination, carrying with it the hopes of two species and the seeds of a conflict that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. The Discovery dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, and immediately every person on the bridge fell silent. The scene before them was unlike anything they had ever imagined. Dozens of massive alien warships floated in perfect formation around the planet, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that could turn entire cities to ash. Captain Lisa Murphy stared at the tactical display, trying to process what she was seeing. The Zephyrian fleet was enormous, far larger than anything humanity had ever built. Each of their battleships was at least 3 times the size of the Discovery, and their weapons appeared to be designed for one purpose only: total destruction. "Jake, give me numbers," Lisa said quietly, not wanting to break the stunned silence that had fallen over the bridge. "Lieutenant." Commander Jake Hamilton checked his instruments twice before responding. "Captain, I'm counting 47 heavy cruisers, 12 battleships, and 1 massive command ship that's easily 10 times our size. Their weapons are focused on high-energy plasma cannons and what appears to be some kind of particle beam technology." Dr. Amanda Cole was studying the sensor readings from her science station. "Captain, the energy signatures from those ships are incredible. They're putting out more power than our entire ship uses just to keep their weapons charged. These aren't explorers or traders. These are pure military vessels designed for conquest." Lisa felt a cold knot forming in her stomach. The Discovery had been built for exploration and peaceful contact with alien civilizations. It had defensive shields and some basic weapons, but it was never meant to face a military force like this. The entire human fleet back on Earth wouldn't be able to stand against what she was seeing. "Danny, can you get us closer without being detected?" Lisa asked her navigator. "I can try, Captain," Danny Price replied, his hands moving carefully over his controls. "I'm using the asteroids at the edge of the system for cover." Their sensors seemed to be focused on the planet, not on the outer system. As the Discovery moved carefully through the asteroid field, the crew got a better look at the planet below. The beautiful cities that the Altarians had built were now burning ruins. Smoke rose from dozens of locations across the surface, and the sensor readings showed that millions of people had been killed in the bombardment. "My God," whispered Dr. Cole. "The destruction is incredible. Entire continents have been hit with orbital bombardment. The Altarians never had a chance." Chief Engineer Matt Ryan looked up from his station. "Captain, I've been analyzing the Zephyrian ship designs. They're built like flying fortresses. Massive armor, huge weapons, but they're not very fast or maneuverable. Our ship is smaller, but we're much more agile." Lisa nodded, filing away that information for later. "Amanda, any sign of survivors on the planet?" "I'm detecting life signs in underground facilities," Amanda replied. "It looks like some of the Altarians managed to reach shelter before the bombardment started, but they're trapped down there with the Zephyrian fleet controlling the space around the planet." Jake studied the tactical display more carefully. "Captain, there's something interesting about their formation. They're arranged in a traditional defensive pattern, but it's very rigid, and they're not expecting any kind of counterattack. As far as they know, they've already won." Lisa made a decision that would change everything. "Danny, can you establish a communication link with the planet without alerting the fleet?" "I think so, Captain." The Altarians included some communication frequencies in their original message. "If I use a very tight beam transmission, I might be able to reach the underground facilities without the Zephyrians detecting it." Within minutes, Danny had established contact with the surviving Altarian leadership. The voice that came through the speakers was filled with desperation and fear, but also with hope when they realized that someone had actually come to help them. "This is Elder Kethmer of the Altarian Council," the voice said. We cannot believe that you actually received our message and came to help us. We thought we were going to die down here. Lisa leaned forward in her chair. This is Captain Lisa Murphy of the human exploration vessel Discovery. We're here to help, but we need to understand the situation. How many survivors are there? There are perhaps 50,000 of us scattered in underground shelters across the planet, Kethmore replied. But the Zephyrians control everything. Above ground, they've been systematically destroying our cities and capturing our people. We estimate that over 10 million Altarians have been killed or enslaved. The bridge of the Discovery fell silent as the crew absorbed this information. 10 million dead. An entire civilization destroyed by these alien conquerors. Lisa felt anger rising in her chest, but she forced herself to stay calm and think clearly. Tell us about the Zephyrians, Lisa said. What do you know about their military tactics? They are brutal and efficient, Kethmore replied. They demand surrender and then destroy anyone who resists. They've conquered over 30 worlds in the past 10 years. No species has ever been able to stand against them. They are too strong, too well-armed. Dr. Cole looked up from her station. Captain, I'm getting more detailed readings on the planet. Now, the Zephyrians are using the surface as a staging ground. They're bringing in construction equipment and what appears to be colonization supplies. They're planning to turn this world into a permanent base. And not just that, Jake added, studying the tactical data. From the communications we're intercepting, they're planning to use this system as a launching point for attacks on other worlds. They've already identified several other peaceful species for conquest. Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. The Discovery was just one small ship with 47 people aboard, but they were the only thing standing between the Zephyrian Empire and the conquest of more innocent worlds. Kethmore, you mentioned in your original message that you have quantum communication technology, Lisa said. Is that still available? Yes. Captain Murphy, we managed to hide several quantum resonance amplifiers in the deep shelters. If you can help us survive, we will gladly share this technology with your people. It will allow you to communicate instantly with your homeworld, no matter how far away you are. Lisa looked around at her crew. She could see the same thoughts in their eyes that were going through her own mind. They were facing an impossible situation, but they couldn't just walk away and leave these people to die. Jake, I want you to start working on tactical options, Lisa ordered. We can't fight that fleet directly, but maybe we can find another way to help. Captain, Matt said quietly, I've been thinking about what makes humans different from these other species. The Zephyrians seem to approach everything with brute force. They're like a hammer that sees every problem as a nail. But humans, we're different. We're problem solvers. We find ways around obstacles instead of just trying to smash through them. Lisa smiled grimly. That's exactly what I was thinking, Matt. We're going to have to be very creative here. As the Discovery continued to hide in the asteroid field, the crew began to plan something that no other species had ever attempted. A direct challenge to the Zephyrian Empire. Captain Lisa Murphy called her senior staff together in the Discovery's small conference room. The weight of what they were planning pressed down on everyone as they gathered around the metal table. Outside the window, the massive Zephyrian fleet continued its orbit around the conquered planet, completely unaware that a human ship was hiding in the asteroid field. We have 47 people against an empire that has conquered 30 worlds, Lisa began, looking at each of her officers. Everything we know about military tactics says this is impossible, but we're not going to use conventional tactics. Lieutenant Commander Jake Hamilton spread out a holographic display of the Zephyrian fleet above the table. The formation looked intimidating, with dozens of massive warships arranged in precise military order. I've been studying their positioning for the past 6 hours, Jake said. They're using a classical defensive formation that would be perfect against any traditional attack, but it has weaknesses. Dr. Amanda Cole leaned forward to study the display. What kind of weaknesses? Their formation is completely rigid. Jake explained, every ship has a specific position and role. They're not used to adapting to unexpected situations. Look at how they're arranged. Each ship is supporting the others, but that also means they're dependent on each other. Chief Engineer Matt Ryan nodded thoughtfully. It's like a house of cards. Very strong when everything is in place, but if you remove the right piece, the whole thing can come tumbling down. Navigator Danny Price pointed to the largest ship at the center of the formation. That command ship is the key, isn't it? Everything flows through there. Exactly, Jake confirmed. I've been monitoring their communications. Every order, every movement, every decision comes from Admiral Vexstar on that flagship. The smaller ships don't make independent decisions. They wait for orders from the top. Lisa studied the tactical display carefully. So, if we could disrupt their command structure, we could turn their coordination into chaos. That's the theory, Jake said. But the problem is getting close enough to that command ship. It's surrounded by layers of defensive vessels, and our ship isn't exactly built for assault missions. Dr. Cole looked up from her scientific analysis. I've been studying the cultural information that the Altarians provided about the Zephyrians. Their entire society is based on dominance and hierarchy. They believe that the strong should rule and the weak should serve. They've never encountered a species that could match their military power, which means they've gotten overconfident, Matt observed. When you win every battle for 10 years, you start to think you're invincible. Lisa felt an idea beginning to form. Amanda, what else did the Altarians tell us about Zephyrian psychology? They're predators, Amanda replied. They evolved on a world where survival meant being the strongest and most aggressive. When they see a threat, their instinct is to respond with overwhelming force. They don't think about traps or deception because those concepts are foreign to their way of thinking. They're like wolves, Danny said. When they see prey, they attack with everything they have. Lisa smiled for the first time since they had arrived in the system. That's exactly right. And what do humans do when we're facing a predator that's bigger and stronger than we are? We use our brains instead of our muscles, Matt replied. We set traps, we use tools. We make the predator's strength work against itself. Jake was beginning to see where Lisa was going with this. You're thinking about using their aggressive instincts against them. More than that, Lisa said. I'm thinking about making them defeat themselves. Jake, you said their formation is rigid and they rely completely on their command ship for coordination. What would happen if we could disrupt their communications? While they were in the middle of a major operation, they would lose coordination, Jake replied. Individual ship commanders would start making their own decisions, probably contradictory ones. In a fleet that size, the results could be catastrophic. Dr. Cole was studying the technical specifications that the Altarians had provided. I might be able to help with the communications disruption. The Altarians have some very advanced computer systems. With the right modifications, I could create a virus that would spread through the Zephyrian network and cause their systems to malfunction. But we still need to get them to make a major operation, Lisa pointed out. They're just sitting there in defensive formation. We need to give them something to attack. Matt's eyes lit up. What if we gave them a fake fleet to attack? We have mining drones in our cargo bay. With some modifications, I could make them emit sensor signatures that would look like attack ships to the Zephyrians. They would respond with overwhelming force, Jake said, understanding the plan. Every ship in their fleet would move to crush what they thought was an attacking force. And while they're doing that, their communication systems would be trying to coordinate a fleet-wide response. Dr. Cole added, That's when my virus would have the maximum impact. Lisa looked around the table at her crew. It's crazy enough that it might actually work, but there's still one problem. Even if we disrupt their communications and create chaos, we need to make sure the Altarian survivors can escape during the confusion. Danny pulled up a map of the planet's surface. The Altarians told us they have some small rescue ships hidden in underground facilities. If we can create enough of a distraction, they might be able to evacuate the survivors. How long would they need? Lisa asked. According to their estimates, about 2 hours to get everyone to the rescue ships and clear the planet's atmosphere. Danny replied. Jake studied the tactical situation. 2 hours of sustained chaos in a fleet that size. It's possible, but we'd have to keep them confused and disorganized for a long time. That's where the human element comes in, Lisa said. We're not just going to set off our virus and hope for the best. We're going to actively work to keep them confused. We're going to be unpredictable in ways that their rigid thinking can't handle, Matt grinned. You want to use the Discovery as bait. Not just bait, Lisa corrected. I want to use our ship to do something that no Zephyrian commander has ever seen before. We're going to attack their flagship directly. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed what Lisa was suggesting. Jake was the first to speak. Captain, that's suicide. Even with our speed advantage, we can't fight a ship that's 10 times our size. We're not going to fight it, Lisa replied. We're going to confuse it. The Zephyrians think in terms of strength and direct confrontation. They won't know how to react to a small, fast ship that refuses to behave like a normal opponent. Dr. Cole nodded slowly. It's like a mouse attacking an elephant. The elephant doesn't know how to respond because it's never encountered anything so small and agile. Exactly, Lisa said. And while the elephant is trying to figure out how to step on the mouse is leading it exactly where it wants to go. Danny looked at the tactical display again. You want to use our maneuverability to position their ships where they'll cause the most damage to each other. That's the plan, Lisa confirmed. We create fake targets with the mining drones, launch Amanda's virus into their communications, and then use ourselves as a very visible and annoying target that will drive them into making exactly the mistakes we want them to make. The crew looked at each other, realizing they were about to attempt something that had never been tried before. One small exploration ship was going to take on an entire empire. Not through superior firepower, but through superior thinking. It's completely insane, Jake said finally. Which is exactly why it might work, Lisa replied. The Zephyrians have conquered 30 worlds by doing the same thing over and over again. They've never faced an enemy that thinks like humans do. As the meeting broke up and the crew began preparing for their impossible mission, Lisa remained in the conference room, staring at the holographic display of the Zephyrian fleet. In a few hours, they would find out if human creativity and adaptability could triumph over alien military might. The Discovery moved silently through the asteroid field like a hunting predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Captain Lisa Murphy sat in her command chair, watching as her crew made the final preparations for their impossible plan. In just a few minutes, they would either save the Altarian survivors or die trying. Matt, status on the mining drones? Lisa asked. Chief Engineer Matt Ryan looked up from his console with a satisfied expression. All 12 drones are ready, Captain. I've modified their transponders to emit false sensor signatures. To the Zephyrians, they'll look like a fleet of 30 attack ships approaching from the outer system. Dr. Amanda Cole was making last-minute adjustments to her computer virus. The virus is loaded and ready to transmit. Once it gets into their command network, it will spread to every ship in their fleet within minutes. Their communication systems will start receiving false orders, contradictory data, and corrupted sensor readings. Lieutenant Commander Jake Hamilton studied the tactical display one more time. Captain, I've calculated the optimal approach vector. If we come in from this angle, we can force them to position their ships exactly where we want them. Navigator Danny Price checked his coordinates. The Altarian rescue ships are standing by in the underground facilities. As soon as we create enough chaos, they'll begin evacuating the survivors. Lisa took a deep breath. Remember, everyone, we're not trying to destroy their fleet. We're trying to save the Altarians and send a message to the Zephyrian Empire. Our goal is to make them defeat themselves. The first phase of the plan began when Matt launched the modified mining drones from the Discovery's cargo bay. The small machines spread out across the asteroid field, each one broadcasting sensor signatures that made it appear to be a heavily armed warship. To the Zephyrian sensors, it looked like a fleet of 30 ships was emerging from hiding and preparing to attack. Admiral Vexstar was in his command center when the alerts began flashing across his screens. His communications officer, Crixel, turned to him with alarm. "Admiral, we're detecting a large enemy fleet approaching from the outer system. 30 ships, heavily armed, moving in attack formation." Vexstar studied the tactical display with surprise. No species had ever dared to attack a Zephyrian fleet before. "What species are they? Are they Altarian reinforcements?" "Unknown, sir," Crixel replied. "Their ship designs don't match anything in our database. But they're definitely hostile and approaching fast." Vexstar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Then we'll destroy them just like we destroyed the Altarians. Signal all ships to attack formation. I want overwhelming firepower brought to bear on these fools." The massive Zephyrian fleet began to move, every ship turning toward the approaching threat. 47 heavy cruisers, 12 battleships, and the enormous command ship all focused their weapons on the area, where the mining drones were broadcasting their false signals. As the Zephyrian ships moved into position, Dr. Cole launched her COMPUTER virus into their communication network. The virus was designed to look like routine tactical data, so it passed through their security systems without being detected. Once inside, it began spreading from ship to ship, corrupting their communications and feeding false information to their commanders. "Virus is deployed and spreading," Amanda reported. "I'm already seeing signs of communication breakdown between their ships." Lisa watched as the first part of their plan worked perfectly. The Zephyrian fleet was moving exactly as Jake had predicted, positioning themselves for a massive attack on targets that didn't actually exist. But the real challenge was about to begin. "Danny, take us in," Lisa ordered. Maximum speed, heading directly for their flagship. The Discovery burst from behind an asteroid, accelerating toward the heart of the Zephyrian fleet at a speed that no Zephyrian ship could match. To Admiral Vexstar, it looked like a single small vessel was attempting a suicidal attack on his command ship. "Sir, one of the enemy ships is breaking formation and attacking us directly," Crixel reported. "It's small but moving incredibly fast," Vexstar laughed. "A single ship against the entire Zephyrian fleet? Destroy it immediately. All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel." But as the Zephyrian ships turned their weapons toward the Discovery, Amanda's virus began to take full effect. Ship commanders started receiving contradictory orders, false sensor readings, and corrupted targeting data. Some ships were told to fire on coordinates that would hit their own vessels, while others received orders to move into positions that would block their allies' weapons. The Discovery twisted and dodged through the Zephyrian formation with an agility that amazed the alien commanders. Lisa had studied the positioning of every enemy ship, and she used that knowledge to lead them exactly where she wanted them to go. "Jake, fire a warning shot past their flagship's bridge," Lisa ordered. "Make it look like we're trying to damage them but missing." "Firing now," Jake replied, sending a low-powered energy bolt that streaked past the command ship's hull. Admiral Vexstar roared with anger. "How dare they fire on my ship? All vessels, destroy that insignificant pest immediately." But the Zephyrian fleet was no longer operating as a coordinated unit. The virus had spread through their entire communication network, and individual ship commanders were making independent decisions based on false information. As they tried to target the fast-moving Discovery, their weapons fire began hitting their own ships. "Sir, the cruiser Deathbringer reports they've been hit by friendly fire," Crixel reported in confusion. "And the battleship Conquest is saying they're receiving targeting orders for our own position." "That's impossible," Vexstar snapped. "Check all communication systems immediately," but it was too late. The Discovery continued its impossible dance through the Zephyrian formation, leading ship after ship into positions where they would accidentally fire on their allies. Lisa had turned the enemy's size and firepower into a weakness, using their own weapons against them. "Captain, I'm reading massive explosions throughout their fleet," Jake reported. "At least 6 ships have been destroyed by friendly fire, and twice that many have been damaged." During the chaos, the Altarian rescue ships launched from their hidden underground facilities. The small, fast vessels evacuated survivors from bunkers across the planet, while the Zephyrian fleet was completely distracted by the impossible human ship that seemed to be everywhere at once. Altarian evacuation is proceeding on schedule, Danny reported. They estimate another hour to get everyone clear. Lisa continued to lead the Zephyrian ships in their deadly dance. Every time they tried to coordinate an attack on the Discovery, the virus would corrupt their communications and send them false orders. Ships collided with each other, weapons misfired into friendly vessels, and the rigid command structure that had been their strength became their greatest weakness. Admiral Vexstar watched in horror as his mighty fleet tore itself apart trying to catch a single small ship. This is impossible. How can one vessel be defeating our entire fleet? On the Discovery's bridge, Lisa opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian flagship. Admiral Vexstar, this is Captain Lisa Murphy of the United Earthship Discovery. The Altarians are under human protection now. I suggest you return to your empire and inform your leaders that humanity does not approve of attacking peaceful worlds. Vexstar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Nearly half his fleet had been destroyed or damaged, and they had never even hit the human ship. A single vessel had defeated the might of the Zephyrian Empire without firing a single shot. In anger, as the last Altarian rescue ship cleared the planet's atmosphere, Lisa gave the order to withdraw. The Discovery accelerated away from the devastated Zephyrian fleet, leaving behind a lesson that would spread throughout the galaxy. The age of easy Zephyrian conquest was over. Word would travel from star to star that there was a new species. Among the stars, one that fought with intelligence instead of brute force, and that the humans remembered their friends and never forgave their enemies. The Altarians would rebuild their civilization, but now they would do so under the protection of humanity. And in return, they would share the quantum communication technology that would allow human civilization to coordinate across the galaxy in real time. Admiral Vexstar's report to the Zephyrian High Command would be brief and humiliating. The Empire's first military defeat had come at the hands of a species they had never heard of, using tactics they had never imagined. The celebration of their latest conquest had ended in disaster, and the galaxy would never be the same.